My name is MJ Rosenthal. I'm a certified professional organizer, and I do three things. I define my work in three ways. I help people understand how to better manage their space, stuff, and time, because all three are connected. We can't get away from that. I bring greater productivity and control to people's lives, and I create space that people really like to live and work in, because aesthetic is so important to so many of us. Can I ask for a show of hands of who's worked with a professional organizer? Okay, so we have 3 or 4 people. Excellent. In today's segment, we're going to talk about one piece of work that I do, which is working with people on managing their paper and their mail. I'm going to talk for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to have some time for some questions. You can also see me afterwards if you don't feel comfortable asking a question. A little bit of housekeeping. Kurt Fetter from DV Media Productions was kind enough to come and videotape this, and nobody will be on camera. However, if you do ask a question, I just want you to know I will be repeating it so we can get it on tape, and your voice may be heard. I'd also like to pass around a sign-up sheet. That seems to be the thing to do. We want to make sure that we capture some information, but if anybody would like some tips on organizing and would like to put their information down, I'm just going to pass that around. And as most of you have seen, there's a handout on your chair to take some notes with. So I find these sessions much more dynamic when we have interaction. So if you have a great idea, if something's working for you, if something's not working for you, raise your hand, and if I can stop, I definitely want to hear that. Some of the feedback I got from the last session that we did was the interaction with the crowd and their ideas were really powerful. So I encourage us all to share that information and knowledge with one another so we can learn. Okay, we're going to get interactive. By a show of hands, who feels that they've got control over their paper and mail and they do a great job with it and there's no stress around it? Okay, I'm weird, I know. Who really doesn't like it and does it when it's only absolutely necessary? Okay, about half the room. Who totally avoids it? Remember, you're not on camera. Okay, we have some honest people. For those of you who are challenged by it, what's challenging about it? Just call out what you find challenging about going through your mail, going through your paper.
Finding a system that really works.
Okay, a system. What else?
Space.
Space.
Too much paper.
Too much paper.
Priorities.
Too much junk mail.
It always continues. Always mail coming in, phone calls and emails. So it's never ending. I'm always afraid to throw it away. I think I'm going to need it later. I want to read it.
Ah, we're going to talk about those what ifs. Sometimes it feels like the boy with the finger in the dike, and it just keeps building up the pressure, and you know when you let loose, it's just all going to come in. The mail's like that. Sorry about my writing, everyone. But this is a really good opportunity to talk about what's challenging about organizing, and it's the first thing that I put on your handout. Organizing isn't hard because of what it is, because most of us feel like, you know, we can organize our things. What's challenging is really taking a look at what we're doing, reflecting on if it's working, and changing behaviors and setting up systems that are going to work for you instead of the ones that you're really struggling with. I like to think about it in holding up a mirror to myself. Is this working? Is it easy? Or is it just something that I dread doing every day? If I dread doing it, maybe I need to look at another way to manage that. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's that simple. Believe me, I know. And I'm not suggesting that there's one size fits all for everyone. What I will tell you is that NAPO and NAPO New England say that the #1 request around organizing is paper and mail. So we're all in good company here. Because there's been so many stumbling blocks around paper and mail and the never ending and the system and the junk and what are the priorities, there's been a lot of research around this, how it's affecting people and why. And I want to talk briefly about 3 categories of disorganization. And I'm sharing these with you not to use a wide brushstroke and paint everybody into a box. Some of this may resonate with you, Some may not resonate at all. But I really think it's important to understand that it's not because I'm lazy, I'm not doing it, I'm doing it wrong. None of these are true. There are true reasons around why we can't or don't get organized. Is anybody familiar with the term executive functioning in that part of the brain? Okay. So executive functioning, for those who didn't raise their hand, is controlled by the prefrontal cortex of the brain. And it helps us with decision making and planning, personality expression, modifying social behaviors. It's a set of cognitive abilities that control and regulate other abilities and behaviors. And we need this to be trained and functioning in order for us to have goal-directed behaviors, to initiate starting and stopping actions, to monitor and change our behavior, and to anticipate outcomes and really adapt. And if this part of the brain hasn't either received the training or maybe there was an injury, organization is a key area which suffers. Another term, chronic disorganization. We sort of laughed when we said it. And I'm hesitant to use that word because people look at it as a negative, and I don't. I look at it as a way to understand what's going on. Has anyone been to the National Study Group on Chronic Disorganization's website? Does anybody know about that? The National Study Group on Chronic Disorganization's mission is to understand CD, which is what they call it, CD, and to provide education, resources, and strategies around managing it. And the definition of CD is a chronic and persistent disorganization with multiple failed self-help efforts, which seriously disrupts the quality of life. And anyone who struggles with CD knows it because they've spent years trying to put systems in place. And they're frustrated, and there's negative self-talk because they don't understand why they can't do something that they feel like they should be able to do. And it's those multiple attempts, and it's the disruption of the quality of life, which really defines that CD experience. And one of the interesting things is the traditional methods of organizing, things that you've seen in an office, or maybe you go into Staples and you see the way they organize, those don't typically work for people who struggle with CD. It's often a non-traditional method that's most successful. Maybe it's organizing by color or theme. Judith Kohlberg is one of my favorite writers on chronic disorganization. They probably have her books at the majority of the libraries. You can get this online. But this is a great resource if you feel like you're struggling with some CD issues. The last area I want to talk about is something called situational disorganization, and I was sharing that thought with somebody who came in today. Situational disorganization are things that are out of our control. Maybe our work has us at the office 18 to 20 hours a day. Maybe we're caring for an ailing parent. Maybe our spouse or our children are causing the disorder and we're unable to get away from it. But understanding that you're in a situation which has taken you away from the focus, and again, that's not a character flaw, it's a particular situation that's moved you away, is really important in not feeling frustrated with the process. One of the things I hear my clients say, and maybe you've said it to yourself, is, I just don't understand why I can't do it. I see some smiles. So people have said that to themselves. There are reasons. The number one reason, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to do with it. So we don't. Anything that's going to be difficult for us, we're going to shy away from, which is why one of the organizing principles is always keep it really simple. A lot of times we're dealing with emotional work. Maybe we're going through a family member's belongings. That can be really challenging. There's a fear of letting go, and I think somebody said that. I'm afraid to pull it away. What if I need it? What about fear of success and fear of failure? All of those things play into the reasons why we just don't do it. But I like to flip it around. Let's go from the positive. Why should I do it? What's in it for you? What would be a great thing to do What are you going to benefit from getting organized? Does anybody? Monique?
Not being embarrassed when people come over.
Yeah. We're laughing, but we're not laughing at her. We're laughing because we understand what it feels like. And we've all had bad days in our house where things are just out of control and we need to do it. But when you're struggling with disorder and disorganization, that's a really difficult thing to invite people to your home because you just don't know where to put the stuff. What about peace of mind? I know I'm going to be able to find it. I'm not going to have to go looking for it. I'm not going to lose my keys. What about making time for the things you really enjoy? Like talking about organizing, coming to these presentations. Any questions so far? Okay, we're going to move into the meat and potatoes.